Hello, and we are live. Welcome to episode 5 of the Body Talks. I'm gonna wait a few seconds until all the ones of you who clicked on the notifications that wanted to be notified about this talk join in, and then I'm going to introduce you today's guest, Lily. So, welcome. How did you sleep tonight? I didn't sleep really well again. What? Well, before introducing you to Lily, hi. Well, I did a little survey yesterday asking you if you had a good night's sleep recently, and if not, why. And I got so many responses. So apparently a lot of you are struggling to sleep. And how does sleep matches with the body talks? Well, I know we've been talking a lot about art, and we will in the next episode as well. And how does the body helps with creativity and with the creation of content and pieces of art. But today we're going to talk about how does our body sleep, how does our body talk to us in a specific point of the day, which is at nighttime, which is a very, 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 very important, hi everyone, moment of the day, which is the moment of the day where we get all the, we're going to talk with Lily about why sleeping is important. But basically, I wanted to talk today about sleep, but also about Lily's story, which is a story of resilience, I have to say. She suffered from insomnia, and she said that disability basically helped her founding her own business. So turning pain into strength. It's something that I want to explore and talk with her today. So let's see if Lily is in. So Lily is the founder, is a female entrepreneur, and she founded a brand called Sleep Siren UK, which is all about sleeping, improving your sleep. So that's why she knows a lot about sleeping, and she will be able also to give you some tips. But I really want to know her story before we move forward. Yes, let's see if Lily is here. Okay, so you didn't sleep really well either. Okay. I'm sorry about that. Hopefully this interview will help you. Hi Lily, here we go. Can you request to let's see if I can go live with Sleep Siren UK. Hi Lily!
Hello.
How are you?
Very well, thanks. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. I love the greenery behind you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Beautiful.
The benefits of living in the countryside.
Yeah, where are you based? Where are you from? Where are you calling us from?
Just outside Oxford.
Oxford, okay. Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
How did you sleep last night, Lily?
I slept really well, but for the first time in a few nights, as you know, I'm pregnant, and I've started having pregnancy insomnia.
Okay.
Which is a really interesting part of pregnancy that no one really tells you about. But hopefully we'll talk today with lots of people about tools and tactics, and how, it's not forever, and, insomnia doesn't have to be life-ruining.
Yes. Exactly. Yes, so basically today I want mainly to have a sort of like introduction about sleep from your point of view, and then know your story. Up and downs, and where you're at, and where does this come from, and then again tips from your experience on how to have a better sleep. So maybe we can start with the question that I always ask related to the series, which is the body talks. So how does your body talk at night, or what does your mind say while you don't sleep? So what happens with your body during nighttime in general?
I like to think of what happens when we go to sleep. We think we just put our head down on the pillow and we shut off, and our bodies just sleep like we are. But the fact is that actually this kind of quite beautiful dance starts, in our brains, in our bodies, on a cellular level, of so many intricate processes occurring through the night. So our body is working overdrive while we're asleep. Even things like our skin regenerating, our brain gets cleaned, our hormones are balanced, just an endless list of things. Our muscles have a circadian rhythm as well, so they sleep. There's just this endless list of things that happen, and we wake up in the morning and we're none the wiser of what's happened, unless maybe we feel, great, I've had a really good night's sleep. But if we haven't, we're kind of still not aware of all of these things that have been going on. So our body is not necessarily talking to us, but it's talking for us when we go to sleep.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. So, well, yes, tell us about you. So, what happened? How did you end up founding like a brand that is all about sleep and it helps enables you and hundreds of people sleeping better? Like, what? I know that's something like tell us. I want you to
So it's coming up to now about 4 years ago. I was working as a marketing manager in the video games industry. So I really had worked really hard. I didn't go to university. I kind of clawed my way up. And I suddenly started having lots of health problems, and the doctors were kind of going, we don't really know what's going on. I was at the same time, insomnia had really set in by this point. I was not sleeping initially because I was just having too much fun and going out with my friends and living a good life in London. And then my health started to take a real downturn. So I was kind of told by the doctors, you need to just accept that this is where your health is. You might not get better. You might never be able to work back in your career again. And you need to accept also that you probably need to start using a wheelchair, and kind of lots of really scary things for, at the time I was 26, 25.
And what did they tell you had?
So I have a genetic, been diagnosed a couple of years earlier with something called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is a connective tissue disorder that kind of has really weird symptoms, and it can affect your guts, your eyes, your blood pressure, everything, because your body is built of connective tissues. Mm-hmm. So they kind of were saying, it's probably just that, it's probably just this weird condition that you have causing all these problems. I actually found out 3 years later, after my health just continued to get worse. I was in hospital for pretty much on and off for about 3 years, that I had really severe endometriosis. And because my other condition was impacted by hormones, the two of them together just it was like a time bomb in my body. Exactly. Yeah. So it was actually only in last November I had big surgery, and since then I've been fine. I've been really good. I still have chronic health problems and I still have these genetic conditions, but I can manage them now. So it was a long journey, and along the way, I'm quite a doer, and I've always been, since I was like 6 or 7, I've always just been like doing stuff around the house and being like little mini mother. And, I loved working. I got my first job when I was 13, and I basically worked all the way through. So the idea for me of not going back to my career and losing all of that, and also losing my independence at the time, was a real blow. It was a real knock. And so it took me a little bit of time for kind of thinking about it and going, actually, I don't want to just accept not working. So I'll maybe think about creating something that, can help me and help others, and also works around my illnesses. So they kind of came at around the same time as I was kind of processing and working through all of that stuff. I always say that like my 3 kind of story arcs are like chronic illness, sleep, or insomnia, and mental health. They kind of all went in tandem, and it's quite, when you learn how you deal with all of those, it's actually the same kind of methodology.
Okay.
So now that I understand that, it makes sense.
And how did you learn that? Like researching, talking with doctors? Did you find any useful resources that you can share? Is a mix
of it was a mix of, I had lots of therapy. I was really lucky. I am quite a bookworm, so I really love reading. I'm quite comfortable reading medical journals and scientific reports, and I just did a lot of research. And I think the medical system is really fantastic in the UK. I think we're so lucky to have the NHS, but there are gaps in between what you're given a diagnosis and sent on your way. You're not given the tools to deal with that. And for me, that manifested in, mental health problems and dealing with all that, and dealing with insomnia. So it was a lot of self self-help initially, and then I was really lucky to find a really good therapist and learning the tools of CBT and CAT, cognitive analytical therapy, and learning those kind of methodologies. You realize actually that it can be applied and is applied by sleep scientists to deal with insomnia. It's 40% of insomnia is caused by anxiety and depression. It's a huge amount. And the other 60% is a mix of pain, chronic illness, and primary insomnia, which is typically to do with our connection between our brain and our body.
Yeah, I can relate on the response of the GP, because I've been diagnosed with polycystic ovary syndrome, PCOS, and basically my GP only said to me, oh well, you have it, you will have it forever, probably you're not gonna get pregnant, just decide between antibiotics and the pill, contraceptive pill, and good luck. You have to lose weight as well because you're too fat, good luck.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, so that was shocking for me. I didn't want to be depending on anything chemical, but at the same time I didn't know about it. Like, I wanted more information on and he didn't know anything.
There's
I mean,
nothing.
he was, and so I went home and I started having a bit of anxiety as well, and worrying, and then you start thinking, oh my god, what's my life gonna be like? So it's not as like everyone. Yes, and so only afterwards, like you, I found a therapist, and I found out that there are people that are actually specialize in polycystic ovaries, like, so nutrition. So it's a holistic way of a treatment that you can do. So actually, there is possibility to just like live with that in a decent way, but GPs don't tell you that there are other tools apart from medicines. So it's really important to do your own research and take care of yourself how you can. So it's amazing to hear, and I want to know more about that from you.
Yeah, I hear that from so many people. I think the first condition that I was diagnosed with, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, it's a genetic condition, so I've had it since birth, but I wasn't diagnosed until I was 21, which is really, really common.
Wow.
Because the symptoms, a lot of people with this condition are Olympic athletes, and then at early 20s, their body just starts falling apart. So you have a really weird range of symptoms. So it's only through me and pushing, learning about, something's just not right. Doctors were telling even my mum, like, I think she just might need some mental health, she might just need some support. I don't think there's anything wrong. We can't find anything wrong. And it took, over 10 years of dealing with that. And before finally a doctor said, oh, of course you have it. Here's this list of criteria and you have every single one of them. Yeah. And actually you've got it quite severely, and I remember walking out of that appointment with my mum and just like falling to the floor and just, just sobbing, because it takes so long to get there. And I think what's not acknowledged is the kind of trauma, basically the medical trauma that so many people go through in their journey with not just mental health, because I think that's a major part of it as well. Doctors often, unfortunately, are still really dismissive of stuff. But physical problems, especially women, there's a long history of women not being believed. And yes, someone's just said medical gaslighting. Yeah. It's a huge problem for women. Even until recently, 6-7 months ago, or maybe last year now, time's gone a bit crazy with Corona. I was still told, that it was just my anxiety, or that I was a little bit hysterical. And then a few weeks later, I had surgery, and they found endometriosis on my liver and my bowels and everywhere. So you're just kind of like, resilience is a part of chronic illness. And I think when you have these invisible conditions, you have to learn to fight for yourself. And if you're lucky enough to have advocates around you, I'm lucky to have my mum and my partner and other family members, but it's a difficult journey. And I think it's natural and to be expected that there's going to be overflow into other areas of your life, like for me, mental health and insomnia.
Yeah. Yes, so fight for yourself and find resources that are outside the GP, probably. Yes. So yeah. What did you find out? What remedies have you found to get better?
So for me, I was lucky that I saw good specialists, and it was a lot of exploring alternative therapies. I have to manage my different conditions differently. So for my Ehlers-Danlos, I manage it with Pilates, a very specific regime to make sure my muscles stay strong, but I can't do any kind of weight training or anything like that. And it's the same approach to my, sleep problems and my mental health. I have to deal with them all independently. And I think it's finding what works for you specifically. For some people, CBT, for just mental health, anxiety, depression, CBT, going to those 6 sessions will be enough. Changing your thought processes around a relatively small period of time can be enough to actually solve your problems. But for a lot of people, it's going to take maintenance, and it's going to take acknowledging and accepting that these are things that will always be a part of your life. They're not you, they're not your identity, but they are a part of your life and a part of something that you have to deal with. And I think, and I know a lot of sleep scientists and things, and go to sleep consultants. That's the core part of, and same thing with anxiety and depression, going to therapists. A core part of what you actually deal with is acceptance. And I always say, like, acceptance is the cure to insomnia, which sounds, when you boil it down, really it sounds like really fluffy, and you're like, well, that's not true. But it's more that you accept that it's a place where you are at this point in time. So when you're laying in bed and you're frustrated and you can't sleep and you're battling with your body, that's just not going to get you anywhere. In the same way that me trying to fight the fact that I've got this, physical condition, me not using my walking stick, is not going to do me any favors. I have to accept that it's something that I need, and that ultimately it gets me where I need to be. So it's about accepting that this is where you are, and accepting that there are tools that you can use, like mindfulness, which we can go on to a whole other subject about that. But mindfulness is a really powerful tool for insomnia, and I know that word gets thrown around a lot, and it sounds quite fluffy and like, oh, mindfulness.
Draw something and fill in with the colors.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just sit and breathe, and I think it's frustrating, because those kind of things, actually, they do get thrown around a lot, but actually it's much more about just focusing on the present and accepting that, okay, sleep is, if we're focusing on sleep is a biological process. It will come eventually. You cannot force it, in the same way that you can't sit down for a 6-course meal if you're not hungry. It's a biological process. It's just not going to come unless you are ready for sleep, unless you are hungry. So you can't force it, but you can facilitate it, you can support it, and you can accept that you might not be ready to go to sleep now, but if tomorrow night might be a better night. You might stay up all night, and that's difficult, but you've got to kind of work towards accepting that tonight might not be my night, but I'm just going to lay here, or I'm just going to get up and do something soothing. I'm going to go read a book. I'm going to do some mindfulness. So not fluffy stuff, but just thinking about the thoughts that are coming into your head. I really suffer with nighttime anxiety, which I think I saw a lot of the responses. That was a really, really big one. And it's no surprise. We can't help those factors. We can't control them. If we've had a fight with our partner, we've had a really stressful day at work, we've had illness, something's happened, especially with coronavirus at the moment. There are so many things that we can't control that impact our sleep and that impact our ability to sleep. But what we can control is how we deal with it and how we face it when those nights come. So when those nights of sleeplessness arrive, it's about accepting that I can't control the fact that I had a fight and I don't feel very well, or all of these kind of things, but I can not get stressed out about it. I can just accept that it might just be tonight. I'm not going to go with expectation into the night, like I'm going to have an awful night's sleep again because last night was awful. It's about all of those kind of tools.
And I guess it's accepting the reason why you're not sleeping on that particular night or in that particular period of time because of something happened, but also accepting, for example, there was something that you posted recently that I was like, whoa, that has to do with coronavirus. And you called it, wait, I wrote it down somewhere, but what is it? Crisis fatigue.
Yeah.
So understanding actually as well that it's not just you probably that is wrong, especially in this period, like the circumstances, because I heard a lot of people are having trouble sleeping, especially during coronavirus, even if they are not facing any chronic pain condition. But in general, yeah, there is this crisis fatigue that I wanted also to ask you about, because that was a really interesting concept. If you can clarify that for us.
Yeah, so that's something I have been feeling, that just like everyone else.
Yeah.
I think that we have dealt with this for such a long period of time, and it's unfortunately it's not over. It's still in the news. It's still something that we're all kind of having to, it's taking up a part of our mental capacity every single day.
Mm-hmm.
For some people it will be greater, for some people it will be less. And whatever form that's taking, it's a drain on you, and your body basically, as again, something that's taught when you go to therapy, is your body can only sustain a level of anxiety or panic for a period of time. You get to a point and then eventually your body has to go back down, because we're just not designed to cope with that. So, you know, anyone that's had panic attacks, you realize that eventually it comes down again. And when it does, you're physically, you feel that. You feel like you've been sick, basically, because you're so tired, physically, mentally drained. And that's the same kind of thing. We've had this prolonged period of panic and fear that's just been overwhelming and unavoidable, really, for everyone. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And we're finally kind of coming to a point. I think collectively, because lockdown started being eased, I think collectively people just started having that dip around the same time. It kind of that sigh of like, oh, okay, well, maybe we're coming to the end of it. And then your brain's like, oh, great, okay, now we can relax a little bit. And that's why we're all having this, you know, kind of malaise and fatigue. And I've seen loads of people from influencers to lots of our followers. We've had lots of people reaching out to us saying that they're just drained and they don't know why, or they feel really down, or they feel frustrated. And actually the symptoms of crisis fatigue, as it's been coined by lots of doctors and psychologists, are very similar to PTSD. They're very similar to the effects that you have after dealing with PTSD. So I think it's definitely something interesting that's going to be looked into, researched more. Mm-hmm. But I think it's important to acknowledge that, you know, even though you might have just been at home for the last 3 months, you're dealing with stuff that you're not conscious of dealing with. And I think it's the same with insomnia. You might not feel like you've got anything that's causing you to lose sleep. Everything's perfect, you've got a great life, you're very happy, but there are things in the background. Insomnia is just a symptom, you know, of other things that you've got going on, and you never know how things are impacting, you're going to spill over.
Yeah. And so Karina is asking, what do you do to deal with night anxiety in the moment? So are there tools when you are there? Maybe, yeah, acceptance is one, like thinking, okay, it's fine. But then is there anything physical, or like with objects or anything, or with meditation that you can do in the moment where you need a solution?
Yeah, so definitely there's loads of different tools. So there's one that you can do before bed, which this is something that it takes practice of doing it. And it sounds really counterintuitive, but it's something called worry time. So it's basically where you have a journal or a notebook, and before you go to bed, or ideally like half an hour before you go to bed, so it's not too kind of on your mind, you sit down, you set a timer for 10 or 15 minutes, whatever you have time for, and you let your worries run wild, absolutely wild. So everything that you're worried about, everything that you think might go wrong, and you write it all down. So whether it's I'm worried about my brother and, you know, he's going on holiday and I'm worried about these kind of things, or I'm worried about that I have to go in a lift tomorrow and I don't want it to get stuck, or whatever you're worrying about, it doesn't matter how small or how seemingly unimportant. If it's taking up space in your mind, you put it down and you write it down. And the part that needs practice is that you've got to work hard not to invalidate what you're feeling. So it's really important that if you have that thought, just acknowledge that it's there and say, that's really interesting that I'm worried about that. You know, that's something that's on my mind, not, oh, that's so silly. I can't believe I can't believe I'm worrying about something so silly. Or other people have so many other problems. We all do these little tricks to ourselves. And actually what happens is that makes those thoughts even bigger and even more present. It kind of reinforces everything. Every time you invalidate your own feelings, you actually reinforce them, and you can make your anxiety worse.
Wow.
So that's one I really like to do, worry time. That's beforehand. But if you're laying in bed and you're just like, you know, like on a roller coaster of anxiety, which I think I've definitely been there lots of times, it's awful. I like to do grounding exercises, and there's loads of different ones for everyone, but I find grounding to be the best way to force me back into the room and to force me to kind of go back to, because I'll be worrying about, you know, a conversation from 10 years ago that's totally insignificant, but it's about, you know, so one example of a grounding technique is to say, okay, so 5 things that I can see in the room, whether it's dark or whether I've gotten up or turned the light on, 5 things in the room that I can see, 4 things that I can feel, 3 things that I can smell, 2 things that I can taste, and 1 thing that I can hear. And you just go through, and you can do that again and again until you feel kind of like you're back in the moment, and you're just focusing on, as silly as it is, I see a chair, I see the fan, I see, you know, whatever. And that can be a really helpful one. Another one that is even easier than that is just stating facts about yourself.
Okay.
And about things that you've got. So my name is Lily Boulle. I live in Oxford. The sun is shining. It's a, you know, really pretty day. I'm talking to Chloe. I'm, you know, 28 years old. I'm, you know, just listing things about yourself, because again, it forces you back into that present moment instead of running away with your thoughts. And you just keep going on and on and on until you're, you know, I'm hungry. I'm really looking forward to breakfast in the morning. You know, whatever things those are, you know, that keep you just rattling on the stream of consciousness, are helpful tools to, again, those are mindfulness. It's about staying focused in the moment.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I need to try one of, like, all of them. It's, yeah, great. Thank you so much. Yeah, I can see that they are really useful for other people as well. I also have a question. Let's say you are okay with sleeping, but there is someone really close to you, your partner or your best friend or your mom, that are struggling with sleep, and they're struggling with mental health related to that and with other illnesses. What's the best way you think to support them, really? Like, because I found difficult, I said it in one of the stories, I had a relationship with someone who was struggling with all of what we just said, and I didn't know how do you communicate that you're there for them, although you don't know enough to know what to say or how to help. Most of the time I was like, I don't know how to help you, please tell me how can help. And they were like, no, it's fine. Like, because it becomes frustrating when it's, there is this, like, I don't know, I felt really unprepared. So what's the best way of showing that you actually are there for someone, that, but although you don't know any like how to support it medically, like what helped you?
I think the first thing is listening to them, and that's not, I think when people know that you aren't sleeping well, how did you sleep last night, how you know, how are you feeling, are you really tired, or if you yawn, and it's just natural, because these are natural questions that we ask, it's just conversation. But I think asking in ways that are constructive, so you know, is there anything that I could be, you know, doing to help? Do you still want to do, so, you know, do you still want to go to the museum today, or do you want to do something more low key? You know, are you feeling, you know, do you feel like doing that? I think the same for sleeplessness and disability. It's you know, and mental health problems. It's about giving people a choice and a say in what happens. And I think having a conversation with them about their needs. I think particularly I know that, you know, when I was suffering with anxiety and depression, questions didn't make a difference. I didn't want help. You know, you want to deal with it by yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that makes it all the more tough. But I think that what you can do in those situations is just be there for someone. I think consistency and still showing up. is actually the hardest thing that you can do as someone that loves them and cares about them. It's the hardest thing you can do, but it's also the best thing, and sometimes the only thing that you can do in certain situations. But I think, yeah, just giving choice and being there and adapting things if you need to. If they're just too tired, then, you know, have a film day, or go have a picnic in the garden, or do things that are accessible to them regardless.
That's great. Yeah. I hope this is helpful for a lot of people, really, like, but I'm sure it is 100%. Like, yeah. So another thing I wanted to ask you was, okay, so from your hospital bed, you were starting doing an hour a day, some of this work, because you had this idea of a business. And then some days you were too tired, but some day you had this sparkle of energy. So slowly you created your own thing. So, like, how do you build up a business? Like, where did you, like, tell me a little bit about your entrepreneurship journey.
It was kind of fumbling through, to be honest. I think I was lucky that I worked in businesses before, so I had a loose idea. My mum was an entrepreneur, so she ran a marketing business from home when we were growing up. So I kind of loosely knew about business, but I was kind of like, I'm not going to be an entrepreneur, and that's not my life. I wasn't that interested, and I sort of fumbled through. I had an idea for the business, and I kind of laid out my plans of. I did a 42-page business plan, not so much that it was shared with anyone, that was very excessive, but so that I could construct my thoughts of what I wanted the business to be and where I wanted it to go, and kind of maybe the steps that I thought maybe it might take in between. And I kind of use that as a living document that I would refer back to and go, okay, well, actually, that's totally wrong. I was way off the mark with that. But actually, I'm really lucky that the people that I spoke to, everyone was really willing and excited. I think it helps that this was a new business that no one had kind of come across. So people were like, "That's really interesting. We'd love to talk more. We'd love to be involved." And so I think people were very welcoming, which helped a lot. And it was just baby steps. It should have, in an ideal world, if I hadn't been in and out of hospital, the business would have launched, 8 or 9 months earlier. But it really was, as you said, like, I would sometimes, work half an hour for over a course of a week. That was it. That was all I could manage. And then the next week I might have to go to a meeting with someone and put on a face and be, enough to sell the business in. So it was a real struggle for sure. But also it gave me something to focus on outside of being sick. So I think that those little glimpses gave me the vision of, oh, this is what I used to be like. This is what I used to be, kind of this high-flying business person. And actually, even though I'm still not well and I can't do that 100% of the time, I can do that a little bit, a small percentage of the time. And it gave me that taste. And I think that really spurred me on. And yeah, it was just like that. And I'm still now over a year and a half since launch, and we're still figuring things out. Like, I've got a room full of boxes that, like, who knew? If someone had told me that when I launched a business, half of my time would be spent on trying to find boxes, I don't know that I would have launched the business. But it's just a learning process, and I think don't be afraid to make mistakes. It is absolutely just a part of business. I've made so many mistakes, and I'm still learning, and the business is still here. So
two things. One, sounds like also working and having a project where you could go back to is a sort of like a hook to reality that sometimes you need when you are maybe spending time in hospital when you're well. Like, having that project that you are really passionate about probably is really helpful to have there. So if someone is totally lost, maybe having one project to have there that they care about is something good to advise. No,
100%. Yeah, definitely. And I think I found out by accident. I didn't realize that it was something that I needed. I kind of just thought, I'll do this as a side project, and it became something that then overshadowed the illness and wasn't something that, was made the illness seem like, oh, well, that's very manageable because I've got all of this other stuff in my life going on. And I think it took a period of time to do that. But definitely, I think even if it's just starting out as a hobby, just doing art, something that you're passionate about, definitely, as you say, a hook to reality. That's a nice way of looking at it.
Yeah. That's amazing. And then the other thing I wanted to ask you, I just forgot. No, I wanted to reply to one of the questions. Yeah, from Karina again, that says, sounds like it gave you another aspect of your identity,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
which is really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I think when you're sick, it becomes, and same with insomnia and mental health, all of these, it's very easy for it to become your identity. And that's what you get known for. And that's what, people ask you about, or people, rather don't ask you about. And it's really difficult to separate the two and acknowledge, again, with that acceptance that this is a part of me, but it's not the entirety of me.
Yeah. 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 We don't want, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, well, so okay, then you launched, and now, so do you want to explain a little bit about what you do to help people sleep then? Woo.
Yep. So we launched January 2019, and we have accessible education, bedtime techniques, and luxurious bedtime products. And so we bring those three things together. The idea is not that silk pajamas are not going to cure your insomnia, but a combination of these three things and turning your attention towards dealing with your sleep problems, accepting that they're there, investing in a little time. And you don't have to invest money, but there's things that, if you feel good before you go to bed, that makes a difference. And it's all kind of tied in together: mental health, insomnia, all of that. It's about treating our bodies better and acknowledging that, we need to spend more time. When you have children, you do everything just so to make sure that they go to bed. And if they're not, you take one sock off and leave the other one on, whatever you have to do. But as adults, we just fall into bed and just get frustrated that we're not sleeping, or we work these exceptionally long hours and we're frustrated that we can't wind down 10 minutes after we've gotten home to go to bed. So I think it's just about acknowledging and learning more about sleep, learning more in not boring ways. Hopefully we try and make it quite interesting, and learning about really easy ways that we can all just be working to improve our sleep and take steps towards improving our health, because that's ultimately what sleep will do.
Yeah. So I think it's important not just having techniques of when you are in that situation, but prepare yourself to avoid to be in that situation is as important. So you work on a longer plan, probably,
Exactly.
which is before going to bed. What makes you? I like the idea, yeah, as Karina said, of like bedtime rituals. I know I read some articles on the website of Sleep Siren about creating a better, like, before going to bed ritual that kind of like soothes the brain and the body, and then allows you to sleep better than when you just, from, as someone mentioned, alcohol. Let's say you've been to a party, you drink, and then you go to bed. Of course, you're not going to be relaxed and you're not going to be sleeping well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's like, it all comes back to these similar themes, but like by treating our bodies better, giving ourselves a little, I'm obsessed with these gua sha tools. I love them, using magnesium products, like all these kind of things make our bodies feel good. And that reinforces that brain body connection, which is really important for being able to sleep. Like we said at the beginning, when you go to sleep, our brain and our body goes to sleep as far as we're aware, but actually it doesn't shut off. It's still working hard. So we need to reinforce those connections. And that's what having a bedtime ritual and feeling a little pampered, aside from just feeling good and deserving it, I think we all deny ourselves self-care, and we deny ourselves feeling good for whatever reason. We think that it's just, we don't have time for it, but we all have time for it.
It's so true. Like, I'm the first one who knows that it's good, but feels guilty and feels like she doesn't have time to do anything before going to bed. But actually, it's just a mindset. So slowly I'm starting to do something. But I think there is so much that one can do to prepare themselves to go to bed in a more soothing way. So for example, there are a lot of products. Like, for example, I spray the lavender spray on my pillow before going to bed, and every time I smell it, it's like, oh yes. So I feel pampered, and that's so simple. But like, because I know that when I do it is when I think, oh, I want to sleep better tonight. So like, these little mini things are, apart from having a bath, that definitely I keep saying no, I don't have time to, but I really want to with magnesium, because I started this journey with a nutritionist as well, with Kirsty, and one of the things she told me to do as well is having the bath with the magnesium and with the bath salts and stuff. So I have to plan in my day also the relax and wind down time, which is something so important that I've always neglected, always.
Yeah.
So
But
yeah.
it's having those cues, you know, in the same way that they always say, like, if you're starting a new workout regime, buy yourself some new trainers, buy new workout clothes that you look forward to wearing, and put them at the end of your bed. Or even, they say sometimes, go to sleep in them, because then you'll wake up and you're going to go do it. It's because our brains are habitual, like we crave habit. So having a set bedtime routine with smells and, you know, and products that we look forward to using, not just make us feel good, but they send signals to our brain saying, oh, okay, it's time to go to bed.
Bedtime.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's the same as when we were little and we used to have some milk in our, you know, bedtime story before bed. It's the same principle.
Oh, I love this. The bedtime story that we tell ourselves before going to sleep. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, and bedtime story, just to get to the end of the interview, you will have to tell to your new baby when you're pregnant,
Yes.
right? So you're gonna have to set new rituals for them as well. That's so exciting.
I can't wait.
Yes, I mean, I just wanted to how does it feel to be like, I don't know, just share something about pregnancy. I don't know, I'm really excited.
It's so exciting. It's such a blessing for us, because like you were told, I was told for many years, it's probably not going to happen, so just get used to that. So it's just such a blessing, and we're really excited. I can't believe it's now only 3 months. We haven't got anything yet. We need to start getting more prepared. But I'm just really excited, and I'm excited to, you know, little bedtime massages and things like that are really important. And we've got blackout curtains. That's the one thing we've got so far. So sleep is going to be important for him.
Oh, that's so cute. Okay, and then you're probably gonna, it's amazing, because you're gonna apply, like, hopefully you're gonna create an environment for him, as I heard, that's the point, that will make him sleep nice, like I'm just a double. I love babies so much, so this is so sweet to hear. So I had one last question. Let's see if I find it, because I take so many notes. I'm so like, whoa, all over the place. But wanted to ask one thing. Where is it? No, it's not here. Oh, maybe it's here. Yes. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's basically, I just wanted to finish off with acceptance again, and yes, so basically I was listening to this podcast earlier about healing, and they said also that one of the things that will help healing is acceptance, but also forgiveness. So to forgive ourselves and forgive people that maybe hurt us, but we can't do anything about it, like, apart from processing that ourselves. So it's not really a question, but I really loved, out of all this, this idea that accepting your condition, accepting your identity, if it's like something you create or something you discover during this journey, and accept where you are in life and work towards it and create conditions to enable a healing. I really love this idea, and then doing something about your sleep is something absolutely vital for this thing, basically. It's not a question, it's a consideration. So if you have anything else to conclude on this concept, and then we finish with something that is like a tool for our viewers on a positive outcome on these, basically.
Yeah. So actually, sleep, when you go to bed at night, we process things that we've been dealing with. We process traumas, we process all of that kind of stuff that we've dealt with now or later. So recurring dreams and nightmares and things that lots of people have, that's because our brains are processing it. So sleep really goes hand in hand with all of that. So if you're on a journey of therapy or a journey of healing, just even self-discovery, self-healing, sleep is a really instrumental part and should be kind of focused on as much as, you know, you're focusing on the therapy and the dealing with that stuff, because it's almost like an extra therapy session when you go to bed. You know, you get to just go to sleep and your brain's dealing with it. And studies have shown that you are less impacted by it every single night that you go to sleep. You're less impacted by traumas that you've dealt with from one day to the next, and it becomes less painful.
Yeah. And I really love the idea of that you started with, that I read as well on your website, of the body as a sort of like symphony of colors and things that work together and create something and heal. And I really love this image of the body and the mind that together heal the tissues, but everything.
It's what I like to think about when I can't sleep sometimes. That's another one that I use. I just think about all of these little, you know, I think of the cells dancing around and like little ballerinas and stuff. It's silly, but it works for me. And it's a nice way of, again, getting back into the present moment and connecting mind body.
That's amazing. Okay, amazing. So where can we find you? Where can we find your business? And I don't know, anything about what you want to share with our audience.
So you can find us, Sleep Siren UK, on Facebook and on Instagram. Our website is sleepsiren.com. And we have a free 10-minute bedtime meditation, which is amazing, really, really lovely, from a wonderful meditation expert called Lily Silverton. And you can find that link in bio in our Instagram. So you can sign up there and get that free download, and you can just keep it forever. It's 10 minutes and it's fantastic.
I will download it right now, ready for tonight. And I will also do a bath, promise. Oh my God, this is a big promise.
Hey, it only needs to be 15-20 minutes. It doesn't have to be long. 15-20 minutes is perfect.
Okay, I actually just got some bath salts, so I will try them and pamper myself a little bit. Thank you so much, Lily, for being my guest today and for sharing all this amazing knowledge on sleep and your story, and to be that kind. Thank you. And that's it. I will carry on spreading the word and sharing some of your amazing posts, because they're really a good reminder for everyone about the sleep and the mental health. And speak soon. Have a lovely rest of the Sunday.
Thank you. You too.
Bye, Lily. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Bye.
Bye. Bye.